Hey there, so today I'm going to show you a technique which is using wool to make veins or capillaries. I'd actually seen this on a couple of other videos on YouTube. One was a Rick Baker video of him making a prosthetic facial piece or a mask, and the other was a step-by-step video on making fake eyeballs. So it's taking strands of wool and then undoing those strands of wool so that you get the individual fibers that wool is made up of, and then gluing them down to the surface of something to create capillaries and veins. But what I wanted to know was whether you could take that technique and apply it directly to the skin. So after a bit of experimenting, I seem to have managed a way to do that, and I wanted to share it with you today. The one thing I would say is I'm using red wool. You could use whatever color wool you wanted to. You can paint over the top of it once you've applied it as well, or you could put a layer of latex over the top of that, or powder over it or something like that if you wanted it to look a bit sort of fainter. It's completely up to you how you adapt it. So hopefully you get something from it and enjoy. So what you'll need for this tutorial is a ball of wool or yarn. I got this from a fabric store for about $1. There's nothing special about it. I think this is actually synthetic. So what you are looking for, however, is this sort of, relatively thick wool that has these kind of fibers that are wound up together, because you want to unwind those. So that's what you want to look for when you're looking for the ball of wool. You need some Prosaide to stick the fibers down. You could probably try either latex or spirit gum. I haven't used either of those yet. But maybe do a bit of experimenting and see whether that works. But I've used Prosaide and that definitely works. You'll need some cotton buds or earbuds just to apply the glue without getting too messy. Another thing too, you'll need a pair of tweezers. So once you've undone the wool and you've got the individual fibers, tweezers just allow you to pick up those fibers and sort of place them without getting kind of too much glue on your fingers, because it can become messy and hard to pick things up. You'll need a pair of scissors to cut lengths of wool up. If you want to, and this is completely up to you, you can use some skin illustrator or face paint or just general makeup. So once you've applied it, you can add a bit of color to it as well to give it a bit of depth and things like that. You'll need something to set it at the end. So Prosaide sort of remains tacky once it's dried, so you'll need something to kind of go over the top and finish it off. I use a setting powder. That takes away a bit of the color, but I don't mind that because it sort of makes it look like, the veins and the capillaries are underneath your skin. The alternative would be some latex. So if you wanted to, you could go over the top of the work with latex at the end, or a thin layer of latex just to seal it off and protect it. And that's it. So what you want to do first of all is get the ball of wool or yarn. And depending on the area that you want to work on, sort of work out roughly what length you need. I might go for, say, kind of 10 centimeters, which is about maybe 4 or 5 inches. And then cut a length off. And what you want to do is, start sort of at the tip and start unraveling these fibers. So if you do that and you think it's too thick in one area, you can actually grab either end of it and kind of pull it apart and make 2 pieces that are kind of thinner again if you want to. So what you want to do is make a kind of big pile of this to start with, and that just makes life easy. So all you need to then do is apply a layer of glue and then pick these up individually and kind of stick them down with the tweezers and and shape them, and that's pretty much it. So once that's dry, you can, if you want to begin with, just pick up some finer strands of this stuff with your fingers and start sort of placing it down. You don't have to be kind of precise with this. What I find, however, is if you use your other finger to kind of pat the fibers down, what is actually a good trick is to kind of, again, like when you're using scar wax, to dip the tip of your finger in a bit of Vaseline. Not too much though, because you don't want to take away the tackiness of this layer, but what it actually does is sort of provide a bit of a barrier between your skin and the glue. So when you're sort of tapping these fibers down, your fingers don't stick to that glue. The other thing you can do now too in this situation is if you don't like the particular direction of one of these, you can actually go back in with the tweezers now and sort of pick it up and, you know, create some sort of wiggles or wobbles in the vein work as well. So another thing that you can actually do with this is rather than put a layer of glue down and then stick fibers over the top, you can actually pour out a bit of Prosaide glue on just a disposable plate and get these fibers and actually drag them through the glue surface. And what you'll notice is that they start to soak up some of the glue and taper off to quite a fine point. But what it actually also does is it sort of, you know, gets these individual fibers again and kind of like, I suppose, bunches them back up or joins them back up again before you apply it to the skin. So once that's started to dry or the Prosaide's gone clear, I thought what I might do actually just to prove my own theory is try sealing the final result with a bit of latex. So I haven't actually tried this before, so this is a first for me. So just grab yourself a sponge or something like that, makeup sponge, and just a little bit of latex and kind of dab over the top. I suppose the one thing I would say is don't be too rough if you're pretty happy with the placement of the veins and the, you know, the capillaries that you've just stuck down. You might end up lifting those back up again, so just tap down gently with the latex. So once that's dry, you end up with something like this. It's actually got a bit of a sheen to it. I don't mind that look actually, but if you wanted to, you could go back over the top with a setting powder like I mentioned in the beginning, just to get rid of some of that shine. Or if you've got a setting spray or something like that, like a matte setting spray, spray a bit of that over the top. What I would probably do now though is, now that I've got my kind of, you know, infection sort of vein work and stuff running down my finger, is I would go back in and, you know, create this sort of initial point where the infection starts. So grab a bit of scar wax and, you know, create either the zombie bite or, you know, where the kind of poison or whatever it is has entered the body. I would also go back with a bit of skin illustrator and add some color to it just to kind of emphasize some of these veins down my finger. So I've now gone back in and added some color, a bit of scar wax to give the veins some context, and I've also put in some fake blood as well. What I've gone for here, and I did this really quickly, I think I did it in about 5 minutes, was I wanted to make it look like some of the skin had been torn on my finger and the infection has gone into the veins and sort of spread down my finger. So to create a bit of irritation, I went back in just with a makeup sponge and dabbed a bit of color around the outside, so there's a bit of sort of blood bruising and, you know, irritation and inflammation around the outside of that sore, which also sort of helps the effect as well. You could take this and create a zombie bite on someone's neck, or, you know, put sort of veins on someone's temple or down the side of their neck to make them look kind of sickly and, you know, zombie-like or infected somehow. But what I wanted to show you was just this sort of technique here of sticking the fibers down to your skin to create kind of veins and capillaries. So hopefully you can now take this and kind of adapt it into your makeups. Thanks for watching.